Hello, everyone. This is Chris G, and I wanted to talk about a situation that a lot of people have heard of in the news lately, and the situation about the basically the shooting of a young lady by the name of Sonya Massey, who was, I believe, of Springfield, Illinois, and basically she ended up, calling 911 because she believed that there was an intruder in her home, and she called around approximately 12:50 a.m. On the day in question. And during that time period, two deputy sheriffs from the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department came to her house around that 12:50 a.m. time period. One of the deputies goes by the name of Sean Grayson. I know many of you have heard about him in the news. And basically, leading into the situation, the deputies basically ended up doing a perimeter check around the home. Then finally, the deputies entered into her home and they engaged in talking. And then there was a point where one of the deputies, I believe it was Deputy Grayson, had asked Massey to take a pot of boiling water off of the stove, claiming that he did not want to have some type of fire to take place in the home. So Sonya Massey goes over to the stove area to take the pot of water off from the stove, to take it from the fire or from the heat. And at that point, that's when the deputy began to move back. And he was already a good ways away from the pot of water, but he began to move back. And then she was asking, why is he moving back? And he basically said, look, I don't want to get hit with that pot of boiling water. Now, at this point, two times, Sonya Massey began to say this quote, and I quote, she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," end quote. She said that two times, and mind you, that she's still a good ways away from Deputy Grayson. And at this point, after hearing this quote two times, that's when Deputy Sean Grayson said, and I quote, said, "You better not, or I will shoot you in the effing face," end quote. And I'm trying to not to say the full explicative, but that's basically what he said, And then she said, okay. Then she began to make sure that the pot was in a non-threatening position, non-aggressive position, and then she began to go toward the floor. At this point, that's when Deputy Grayson shot Sonya Massey in the face. Okay, and I had a chance to see some of the video. I think that's probably about the best video footage I've been able to see so far. And in the video, but before the pot was ever in an upward position as if she were to throw it, which I never really saw that take place. Long before she even began to get toward the floor, Deputy Grayson, Deputy Grayson already had his firearm up in the air, aimed at Sonya Massey. And at that point, she was very frightened. And then she said, okay. And then she began to go toward the floor and in a submissive position. And that's when Deputy Grayson shot her in the face. Okay. And then eventually, Sonya Massey ended up being unalived, laying on the floor. But before she was officially unalived, there was a discussion between the two deputies about going out to get medical kit. And then finally, the statement was made that, basically there wasn't going to be a need for the medical kit because the shot was, in the face into the head, and there really was not going to be any way to really save her. Okay. And after this, Grayson went outside to speak to other police officers about the situation that took place. And after that, pretty much the situation was over at that point. Excuse me. Later on, Grayson was indicted on 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count each of aggravated battery with a firearm and official misconduct. And later on, Grayson was fired from the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department. Also, Grayson went to a plea of not guilty for the night in question. Now, one thing I did find out about Deputy Sean Grayson is that he does have a record of some very questionable events that have taken place in his life. Found out that Deputy Grayson has worked at different police stations or law enforcement agencies within a handful of years, and different police departments said that Grayson did need more training, and that's definitely something big. If you're not adequately trained, that's a huge problem. And also, he also did receive a psychological evaluation while being in law enforcement. And one of the statements that stood out to me was that he had scored low on cognitive assessment. Being in law enforcement, you're going to have to make sharp, solid decisions. I'm not going to say everybody's going to be perfect, but when it comes to things where it's like life and non-life situations, you're definitely going to have to be sharp with your cognitive abilities. You're definitely going to have to be with that. I just wanted to point that out. And also, he had received 2 DWI charges, one in 2015, 2016. One of them, the DWI charges he received, was while he was in the Army. And later on, he was discharged from the Army for misconduct. Now, I want to start off by saying that basically rest in peace to Sonya Massey. I personally believe that this young lady should still be alive today. And also after, seeing some of the footage, some of the footage I saw that was stopped. I guess that's when the actual firing of the firearm took place. I could not see the actual firing of the firearm take place, but I believe I'd seen enough footage to know that the lady did not deserve to be unalive. She should still be alive today. She should have not been laying out on that floor, losing her life. I believe that what Deputy Grayson did was wrong, and he never should have shot her. Not absolutely not. I don't think he had any grounds to take her life away. That pot of water that the supposed pot of water that was in question. From the footage that I saw, it was not in any type of really solid, aggressive position to where it could have actually hurt him. And on top of that, he was a good amount of ways away from Miss Massey, where she was over close to the stove/sink area. He was a pretty good ways away. And to also say, let's just say, for example, even if she did, manage to, let's just say, throw the pot of water, if she actually did do it, me personally, I still don't believe that gives the law enforcement the right to take a life because of a pot of water. Now, if she had like a knife or an actual firearm, then I can understand them being extremely aggressive, because those are straight up, actual, really legit weapons. Not to saying that the water can't harm somebody, but I don't think a pot of water is grounds enough to take somebody's life. I really don't. And I really do think what Deputy Grayson did was wrong, and I think he should be charged to the fullest extent possible. And I really hope that he does a lot of time in prison for what he did. And I hope that the family gets justice for this. And this is also something, these types of situations that are happening in this country, I have to say, I'm very, very sick and tired of seeing law enforcement doing certain types of, showing certain type of behavior and doing certain type of actions that are harmful to people, that are harmful to the citizens of this country. I'm tired of this. I believe a lot of these officers that are doing things improperly, they should be fired. They should be forced to resign, and they should not be allowed to do any type of law enforcement ever again. They shouldn't even be allowed to stand watch at night at a mall. No disrespect to people that do mall security, but I'm just saying, like, he shouldn't even be allowed to do that. Just no type of security at all, especially not in security with some type of firearm. And it's because of actions like this and other types of actions that are similar to this, where a lot of people really don't have a lot of faith in law enforcement. Now, I do want to say you do have some good law enforcement people out there in this country. May God bless them and may the Lord keep them. They go out there every day and put their lives on the line. Many of them have families. Some of them at times don't even know if they're going to make it back home to their families. But I thank those law enforcement people that are upholding the law, that are righteous law enforcement personnel, and they really do believe in the idea of serving and protecting their community and putting their lives on the line. I thank them, and may God bless them, and may God bless their families too. I thank them very, 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 very much. But for the ones that are bad, man, the bad apples, they're making the rest of law enforcement look bad. And I really believe that these bad apples, these bad officers, they need to be removed. They seriously need to be removed. I remember one time there was I believe it was a law enforcement officer or somebody in association with law enforcement. They called me some years ago. I think it was back in the 2010s, almost close to about, it might have been maybe about 10 years ago, or maybe a little bit less than 10 years ago, maybe about like 7 or 8 years, something. But one of them had, somebody called me that deals with law enforcement, and they were, trying to, talk to me real nice and stuff. And basically they wanted me to donate to some type of law enforcement agency. And I respectfully just said that, well, that, as long as, as long as African Americans are going through harassment from law enforcement and being mistreated by law enforcement, I'm not going to be able to give you any type of money. I won't be able to donate anything. And I was respectful with it. I was not mean. I did not use any type of explicatives. I just said, I'm just not going to be able to do it. And then I just went on ahead and I just slowly just hung up the phone. And I'm standing firm with that, because I'm not going to be able to give any type of money or donations when I'm seeing my people being harmed by law enforcement. A bunch of situations where they should have not harmed my people. And I stand firm with that. And nobody should be going through this type of mistreatment from the bad apple law enforcement folks, but I am African American, and this is something that I've seen, a whole lot happening to my people. And like I said, I just wasn't going to be able to make any type of donation, but I really do believe this type of stuff seriously needs to stop. There needs to be serious charges put on these types of people in law enforcement that do these things, and there needs to be serious change in law enforcement. We need to have internal affairs people that deal with that type of stuff really crack down on getting these bad apples, these bad law enforcement people out of law enforcement, and stripping them of their ability to ever do law enforcement again. Because when you put on that uniform, you have that badge on, whether you're a city cop, or you're a deputy, whatever type of law enforcement you do. You not only do you uphold the law, but you're supposed to serve and protect the community. You're not supposed to go out here like a bunch of damn vigilantes, just doing whatever type of stuff you want to do, and not adhering to some type of law protocol. Not trying to hold yourself up to a high standard. You're not supposed to go out there like that. You're supposed to have a standard, and you're supposed to do your job the best way you can, and do it the proper way. And you're supposed to keep that stuff in mind. You're supposed to do that. You don't just go out there and do whatever the hell you want to do. And that's basically my take on that. And this is Chris G. And that's basically all I have to say about that. Thank you for listening.